So Stan is going to be the first portfolio. Stan says, hey Abe, while I only have one piece on my portfolio, I would love it if you are able to check it out for the portfolio review and give me some feedback on it so I can make sure I'm on the right track. Let's take a look. Awesome. So this is by Stan van der Velde, and this is a character. Do we have more pieces on your portfolio? No, just the one. Okay. So, of course, one of the things that I'm going to say is that we definitely need to add more pieces. That's a very obvious feedback that I can give you right now, Stan. And one of the things that I'm noticing right now is that the textures are looking a little bit wonky. What do I mean by this? Well, you guys already know what I'm gonna say right here, correct? Yeah, that's right. We got the metal edgeware issue. The metal edgeware is something that we've mentioned before. I think I'm gonna be mentioning this until the day I die, where you need to make sure that you break it up a little bit. It's not very common for an object to have this sort of like damage. If you're trying to imitate the surface scattering effect, where this thing is having a little bit more of a glow on the corners, then we need to use some blending modes here, Stan. But yeah, this is a cool character. It kind of reminds me of the Oni. I'm not sure if you were following the Oni tutorial for this one. Kind of reminds me of the Oni. I'm not sure why this looks so small here. Let's go. Oh god, I'm already being turned into short material, man. But it's for everyone's benefit, man. We're all gonna learn from this. Okay, your optimization is really good, though. Yeah, 48,000 triangles. Quite nice. We can, of course, always optimize a little bit more. It really depends on the project. Some projects require more optimization than others, but your optimization is really good on this one. It's the textures. Like, the textures, I feel like we can definitely work a little bit more. See, here's the thing, Stan. When I first saw it, I thought it was going to be like a hand-painted character. Like, you were going to go for that sort of like hand-painted approach. It definitely looks a little bit more artistic, right? A little bit more stylized. Reminds me a little bit of like Overwatch. But if we take a look at the roughness information, for instance, there's not a lot of variation. Like this kind of like really dirty variation on the roughness of the stone, I don't think it's really helping us too much. Like those like splotches that we see right there, we need to be a little bit more careful about that, because we're not really defining the crevices, we're not really defining the sharpness. So that's an important one. Let's let me rephrase that to explain it a little bit better. When we're dealing with roughness, one of the most important things that you need to understand is that we need to be very clear on how the roughness defines the different separation of materials. In this one right here, you can see that we have bright elements and then dark elements on your color information for this stone elements. But if we go to the roughness map, we're not seeing that distinction. It's just an overlay of this or like dirt, or kind of looks like a little bit of some sort of filter just going around. And it's very important that we try to make sure that we also describe a little bit of what we see on the color. So I would expect, for instance, the crevices of the element to have a little bit more roughness, and then the edges to be a little bit less rough, so that we see a little bit more of that jump in contrast, right, in terms of how they shine. Another thing you can see that is on the skin. The skin right now has a very, very sort of like soft distribution of just general noise. We also want to introduce a little bit more variation there on certain parts of the skin that we might want to make them glow or shine a little bit more. That's the kind of stuff that we need. And roughness map, guys, it's one of the most important maps, and people often forget how important that is. In terms of the sculpt, I think you did a good job. There's a very simple mistake here that I see in terms of anatomy, and that's going to be the last tip so that we can move to the next one and everyone's get a chance today. But there's a very simple thing that a lot of people forget about this muscle right here. I'm gonna confess something, guys. For me, arms, especially forearms, were the most complicated part to sculpt and to understand when I was learning anatomy, because they are very tricky. They rotate around and they generate a very interesting sort of like juxtaposition of forms. So it can be tricky. Now, this is fine. These are called the flexors. They are the muscles that move and make our fingers go in. They flex like this. And on the other side, we're also going to have the extensors. But the extensors are going to be buried by this massive muscle that we see right here. And you can see it right here going over my arm. But the most important thing about this muscle right here is called the ECRB. Or ACRL, it's extensor carpi radialis longus and extensor carpi radialis brevis. It's two of those muscles, and there's another one called the brachioradialis. So these three muscles right here, they make up this whole volume. And the most important thing about that volume is that it crosses the elbow. Okay, very important. It needs to cross the elbow. It needs to go across the elbow, and then it goes towards the hand. So the volume is a little bit higher. There's going to be a little bit of a slant, sort of like variation right there. And I would expect to see less volume on this area and a little bit more volume on this area right here. Okay, That's very, very important for the silhouette of the arm, for it to really look as nice as possible. You could have increased a little bit of volume here as well on the latissimus dorsi, just to give it a little bit of a stronger vibe. Everything else seems to be quite nice. Deltoid could also be pushed a little bit more, depending on how stylized you want the character to be. But this right here, guys, that's very, very important. The arm, the muscles of the arm, they are on a little bit of an incline right there. Like, they're not going to be happening at the exact same, like they don't push the volume at the exact same point. It's very, very important. Again, it's very easy. Here, Anthony, I'm going to give you a trick that's going to allow you to remember every single, like, muscle on the body. Muscles, the name of the muscles will tell you a lot of what they do. It's just the way they're, like, meant to be read, right? So, for instance, brachioradialis. Brachio is from the Latin or the Greek root, which means arm, brazo in Spanish, right? So brachio means arm, and radialis means radius. So the muscle that it goes from the arm to the radius. That's it, brachioradialis. Extensor, extends. Carpi is hand, extends the hand. Radialis, again, muscle or bone close to the radius of the arm. And then brevis, short. And then extensor, carpi, radialis, longus. Longus means long, so bigger. There you go, brachio. So it's very, very similar. So the names of the muscles will tell you what they do. You do need to learn sort of like the roots of what those words mean. They are supposed to be Latin, if I'm not mistaken. And that will give you a little bit of a better understanding on how to interpret all of the different information there. This is a good project, Stan. I like it. I do feel if you could go back and just play a little bit more with the roughness map, it will be a little bit stronger. The technical execution, right? Like you following all of the steps, your sculpting, your UVs right here, your retopo, that's great. Like that's pretty nice. And you did match the concept quite nicely. I think you're really close to the original concept. It's just breaking up the metal etchware on some of the elements a bit more and playing a bit more with the contrast of the objects. There's one very important thing that you're missing, or at least I'm not seeing it here as much, which are the tattoos. The tattoos here, they don't look as white. They look a little bit more like a light blue. And right now your body is a little bit too light compared to the tattoos, and I feel like we're missing them a bit. Like they're not as obvious as what we have on this one right here. So again, one of those things that you could potentially fix. But yeah, that's it, man. Good stuff. Now we need to do more of this. We need to have more information right here. Hopefully this helps you along your way, my friend.